Hi, fancy seeing you all here. I know it's been a while, I bet you were wondering where I was. Well, I was just curled up in my bed, contemplating my life decisions while spiraling down the sinkhole that is depression. Okay, no, but seriously, I've just been busy with my film course, making movies and all that. Hey, speaking of movies, let's talk about movie remakes. We all love movie remakes, don't we? Now, I don't know about you, but I'm definitely looking forward to the remakes of An American Werewolf in London, The Never-Ending Story, Akira, Cowboy Bebop, Scarface. Man, Hollywood has just about run out of ideas, am I right? It seems that we're just about getting nothing original anymore. And the things that are original become obscure and underappreciated and are shunned away into the abyss to make way for stuff like The Lion King 2019. So, you know how I went into the subject of hype culture a few months ago? No, of course you don't. The logic and mindset that I discussed then kind of applies to what I'm gonna brag on about right now. It seems that every time when a remake, a reboot, or just about anything that's even associated with a popular piece of media and entertainment is announced, I see people's reactions consist of either two things. Excitement and hyped nonetheless and would pretty much support it regardless just because it's based on a thing they like, and people who are deeply contempt and downright hate it because it diminishes the original in a lot of ways. When it comes down to it, the reaction amongst the community to Hollywood remakes or to anything to that scale, it's like those old fights that you used to see at school. It's ugly, kind of embarrassing to see, but you just can't help but join the chaos. A lot of fans of cinema and pop culture just can't stand to see their beloved movie that didn't need fixing in the first place being remade. If it ain't broke, don't fix it, they say. And that isn't to say that remakes isn't necessarily bad. The whole purpose of a remake is they can fix the amount of flaws that are in the original movie. It can kind of work if it has a sound premise, but the presentation and overall execution could be lacking. Then if that's the case, then I see no reason not to retell it. Anyone is completely entitled to reimagine someone else's work and give it their own interpretation. Some films that have been considered some of the best of all time are adaptations. These are stories that are told from a different vision and perspective, and a reimagining gives filmmakers and creatives to breathe new life into something that already exists. Remakes and adaptations nowadays are pretty much viewed as a product of the Hollywood machine. They're specifically designed to capitalize off a market who's already familiar to a movie or, to some extent, a brand. What some people forget to understand is that remakes is what keeps the Hollywood system commercially sustainable and a way to keep the industry floating. This remake regurgitation that Hollywood seems to be inducing to the modern movie crowd, it's a tactic that involves the industry going to the lengths of putting tens of millions of dollars into introducing a classic movie franchise to a new audience. And if you looked at some box office figures, it's clearly worked in the past few years.
But Hollywood ain't what it used to be back in my day. It's the same crap over and over again.
If you want to find something that's original or unique that fits your tastes, then Hollywood, surprisingly enough, is not the place for you. There are independent films that distance themselves from the Hollywood bubble and produce some of the most innovative and highly engaging films there is. Films that are willing to break boundaries and take risks, unlike a lot of mainstream movies. It's up to you, yes, you, the viewer watching this video right now, to seek out for them on your own. And it's a case that a lot of people don't really justify for when they make countless arguments against Hollywood for not doing for the last 15 years. For me, I'm kind of reluctant when it comes to remakes. It's pretty rare that a remake can capture what made the original beloved in the first place, but the majority of the time I see them as always dull and unnecessary movies that are essentially nostalgia bait. And we just have to face the fact that people are going to continue talking about them as a means to relish in the hype for better or worse. And we're also going to face the fact that big studios are going to continue to remake whatever they blindly pick from the supermarket shelf. I mean, they're not going to listen to anyone telling the big studios to stop anytime soon. But I want to make an ending statement. If you're tired of these big, nasty corporate studios that are supposedly ruining your favorite movies, there's nothing really else better to do other than just to reminisce in the classics for yourself by, I don't know, watching them. They're not going to cause any harm to what made the original special. Despite how much power and greed the industry has, it isn't going to take away the movie from you. If a remake fails to acknowledge what made the original special to a lot of people, then why acknowledge these remakes in the first place? If the audience steer themselves away from seeing remakes in the cinemas, then maybe Disney might take a note of that and maybe reconsider that idea of a live-action remake of Toy Story. Hey, just before I end the video, I just wanted to say that if you want a remake that's actually faithful and respectful to the source material, it's gonna be weird to say, but I highly recommend you watch Shrek Retold. It all started with a guy who simply had a love for the movie Shrek, which was already a cultural phenomenon, and he got over 200 people to remake the entire film, from the visuals even right down to the soundtrack. No matter how low the production value is in some of the segments are, it's a huge project and it took time, commitment, and a collaborative passion. These 200 creators took what was already known and reimagined the film in their own unique styles, with different elements thrown in there and their own creative approach. I know some of you might have already seen it, but since I'm talking about remakes, I thought I'd give an example of how remakes can be achieved. If you haven't seen it already, I strongly suggest checking it out. I'll put a link in the description. And that's pretty much it. I will see you next time.